Hello, I'm Eddie, and our podcast today's title is The World Before the Flood and Why the Giants Came Back. What if the most dangerous thing about the flood wasn't the water? What if the real danger is about same conditions that led to it are quietly building again? What if the flood didn't just destroy a world, but revealed something about human nature that we are still seeing today? And what if the question isn't just where did giants come from, but why do the same patterns keep returning? Welcome to Life's Journey with Faith. And today, our journey takes us back before the flood and stepping into one of the most mysterious and misunderstood moments in Scripture. The world before the flood, the Nephilim, and why, after everything was destroyed, giants show up again. The Bible describes a world that had gone completely off course. We read in Genesis 6, verse 5, "And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually." Think about that. Not occasionally wicked, not sometimes evil, continually. Sin wasn't hidden, it was normal. Violence filled the earth, truth was ignored, corruption spread like wildfire, and among the people were beings called Nephilim, the giants. This wasn't just a bad society, this was a broken creation. God's design was being abandoned. And in the middle of that corruption, God looked at the earth, and instead of reforming it, he reset it. Genesis 6, verse 4 tells us that there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that. This is where confusion comes from. The second phrase of that verse, which reads, "and also after that." It seems to suggest that they existed again after the flood. But however, the scripture makes it clear that everything outside the ark perished. The Nephilim did not survive the flood. They were part of the corrupted world that God judged and destroyed. But after the flood, we see giants again. The Anakims in Numbers 13, verse 33, and also figures like Goliath, found in 1 Samuel, verse 17. Something similar happened again after the flood. Not the same individual surviving, but a reoccurrence. They were possibly large humans, not the same Nephilim, but genetic traits of his height and strength continued through human lines. The Bible doesn't give us these accounts just to satisfy curiosity. He gives them as patterns and warnings. And that's important because the focus isn't meant to be on curiosity. It's meant to point to corruption. Scripture also points to a deeper rebellion happening behind the scenes. behind those scenes we read about in Jude 1, verse 6, tells us that the angels which kept not their first estate, there were boundaries God established, and something crossed them. Whether you study this deeply or keep it simple, the message is clear. When God's order is rejected, disorder always follows. And then God intervened. Let's look at Genesis 7, verse 23, which says, "And every living substance was destroyed which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and creeping things, and the fowl of the heaven, and they were destroyed from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark." The flood wasn't random, it was judgment. The corruption removed, the violence silenced, the giants gone, the world reset. When the waters went down, it was a fresh start. Genesis 9, verse 13, Jesus says, "I do set my bow in the cloud." Our colorful sign of God's covenant, promise, and second chance. But let's fast forward generations later. Israel sends spies to go into the land of Canaan. They come back shaken. In Numbers 13, verse 33 says, "And there we saw the giants." And now we're left asking, how is that possible? If everything was destroyed, how do we see the same patterns like this again? Here's what we know for sure. The flood destroyed absolutely everything outside the ark. The answer is not that the giants survived. The answer is that the root problem survived. It tells us in Jeremiah 17, verse 9, "The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it?" The flood changed the environment, but it did not change the heart, the human heart. Wherever the heart drifts from God, corruption grows, rebellion rises, and the same patterns return. Let us imagine a field completely overgrown with weeds. It's wild, tangled, unrecognizable. So someone comes in, clears it, cuts everything down, and resets the ground. For a moment, it looks perfect. Clean, open, fresh. But here's the problem. If the roots underneath are still there, give it time, give it the right conditions, and those weeds will grow back again. The flood cleared the field, but the roots were still in the heart of man. Now let's bring this home. The Bible doesn't say we'll see the exact same giant, but Jesus does say in Matthew 24, verse 37, "As the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." That means we should expect the same kind of conditions. So what are the giants today? They're not necessarily physical giants. but rather spiritual giants, because the same conditions returned. Things like pride that refused God, deception that replaces truth, sin that becomes normalized, systems that push God out, voices louder than Scripture. So, to be clear, our giants today are anything that rises up bigger than God in the mind of man. And just like in Noah's day, Luke 17, verse 27, tells us that they did eat, they drank. Life looks normal. People are busy, distracted, moving forward, not realizing the warning signs are already there. Jesus didn't say we would see the same exact world, but we'd see the same kind of world. So, why did the giants come back? Because the flood can wash away a world, but it cannot wash away a heart. And when the heart returns to rebellion, the giants return, but in a different form. Giants today are anything that stands taller than God in your personal life. The giants didn't survive the flood, but sin did. And whatever grows, giants rise again. So the question is not, are giants still here? The question is, which one are you facing? As we come to a close, think about everything we've heard and seen. A world before the flood, filled with violence, corruption, rebellion, and people who ignored the warning of God. We saw the giants before the flood, and we saw them again in the land of Canaan. And the question became, how could they come back? The flood destroyed the world, but it did not change the heart of man, because the heart is deceitful above all things. We learned that the giants did not survive the flood, but sin did. And wherever sin grows, giants rise again. Maybe not always as physical giants, but as our pride, deception, fear, lust, rebellion, distraction, a world trying to live without God. We saw the field that grew back weeds because the roots underneath were still alive. We saw that the flood can wash away a world, but it cannot wash away a heart. And then Jesus gave us a powerful warning. As the days of Noah were. That means this message is not just about the past, it's about us. Because we're living in a generation where truth is questioned, sin is normalized, and many people are ignoring God just like they did in Noah's day. But there is still hope. Noah had an ark. David had a stone. Israel had a promise. And we have Christ. 1 Samuel 17, verse 47, tells us that the battle is the Lord's. So whatever giant stands in front of you today, whether it be fear, addiction, anger, pride, depression, temptation, hopelessness, remember this. Giants may rise, but God is still greater. The world before the flood ignored the warning. Don't let us in our generation do the same. This is life's journey with faith, guided by truth, walking by faith. Thank you for watching, and never forget, don't focus on your giants, focus on the God who is greater than them all. God bless.